I was proud to vote recently for the House budget resolution, which provides the framework.
Do you like the way he treats the Premier or the President of Canada, calling him governor? Is that the way you do as a diplomat? Is that the way the United States should act to our closest neighbors?
A Republican congressman gets heckled at a town hall, an American stands up for Canada, and there is some interesting new data out about how Americans feel about Trump's threats to Canada. So I'm going to go over all of this today with a few clips, and this was quite the town hall because Republicans right now are being told not to hold public events out of fear that they're going to be heckled and get embarrassed because of what they're going to have to defend in terms of cuts to things like Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, the VA, which we're going to get to one of the clips. It's just an insane platform that clearly you cannot defend. So they're telling their members not to show up to these town halls. But to the credit, I suppose, of Republican Representative Chuck Edwards, he did show up. So this is in North Carolina. This is, first of all, outside the event, because it was full and more people could not get in, showing you just the level of energy out there that people have. Here's a quick clip of this.
Deport us! Deport us! Deport us! Deport us! Deport us! Deport us!
So they are calling there to deport Musk. It is amazing that I don't want to get into it, but just like this guy parachutes in and is leading the charge in all of these cuts to essential services within the U.S. It has been wild to witness. So let me get to the first clip here. This is near the beginning, where Chuck Edwards begins to discuss what he has recently voted for, and look at the reaction in the crowd, and then a veteran speaks out.
I was proud to vote recently for the House budget resolution, which provides the framework. Yep. And you wonder why folks don't want to do these town halls. Thank you for that feedback. To be clear,
Chuck Edwards cannot take the heat and then kicks a veteran out of the town hall. Now, I imagine part of what is angering that veteran there is the fact that the U.S. plans to fire 80,000 Veterans Affairs workers as part of Trump's cuts. But Edwards appears to be unaware, if we're being charitable, but let's be clear, he is just straight up lying here when he answers this question.
How do you justify cuts to staff of the VA helping veterans, especially those with long-term care needs?
so first of all, there have been no cuts to the staff at VA as of this point.
So he claims there have been no cuts up to this point. Keep in mind, this is March 13th when that is being recorded. This is the actual official VA government website. VA dismisses more than 1,000 employees. That was on February 13th, a month prior to this town hall. And then a week later, VA dismisses more than 1,400 probationary employees. They have already fired over 2,000 people. Yet Chuck Edwards is claiming, nope, nothing has been cut so far. Just straight up lying to his constituents. So more on this from HuffPost. The firings of the VA don't just impact veteran services, they also hit their employment prospects, since veterans make up an outsized share of the VA workforce. Nearly 30% of the agency's workers served in the military, compared with around 6% in the broader civilian labor force. Quote from one of the employees who were let go: "I was only there for 7 months, and I was already in charge of 3 critical functions in the hospital. we were severely short-staffed. So the VA was already short-staffed, and now they are further short-staffed with these cuts, and this is just the beginning of what is potentially 80,000 job losses. Let me get to a clip here from Tim Kaine, who goes on to expand on this.
They've decided, well, let's go after probationary employees. Now, Joe, what you know is probation doesn't mean you've done something wrong. It means you're a new hire. Who are new hires? Young people or career switchers? Veterans. Veterans serve in the military for 5 or 25 years, and then if they come into the federal civil service, they're probationary employees. So this is a war on veterans. Then you take it to the next level, all these VA cuts. I went to the opening of a brand new Veterans Administration clinic down near Fredericksburg a couple Fridays ago. State of the art. We spent $350 million to do it. It unified a whole bunch of different clinics because veterans were having to drive from here to there to everywhere. Put it in this state-of-the-art facility, but because of hiring freezes and the VA administrators plan to lay off a whole lot more people, it opens up with a skeleton crew. We don't want to just have a nice parking lot and a nice building. You want to be able to actually get some services there.
It is incredible to me as an outsider looking in, as a Canadian looking at what's happening in the U.S., that one of the arguments that these Republicans and right-wingers are often using is that, oh, the government is too big. It's doing too many things. So we put too much money in the government. There's too much happening. You don't have health care guaranteed to you. How can you possibly argue on any level that the U.S. government does too much? Take a look outside your borders. Take a look at what's going on in Europe and how the investments made in social housing, in healthcare, in public infrastructure, in public transportation. It's night and day. To think that the U.S. is spending too much money on public services is completely insane. There's no bearing in reality whatsoever. So cuts to VA like this, an agency that is already short-staffed, understaffed, that is going to directly hurt veterans both because of the jobs that they are potentially losing, but also because of the services that they need and are no longer staffed. It's disgusting to witness. Let me now get to this wonderful older gentleman here who goes on to defend Canada and Greenland.
Okay, so I'm trying to get your opinion on this as a yes or no. Do you support Trump on annexing Canada or Greenland? And do you like the way he treats the premier or the president of Canada, calling him governor? Is that the way you do as a diplomat? Is that the way the United States should act to our closest neighbors? You know, is this, and I've still got a little more time. Do you enjoy the way he's tried to extort minerals from the Ukraine? Do you like bullying people that need your help? Do you go for kicking the guy when he's down? Do you support Trump in these things? And this is a yes or no.
The no's in there. Let me answer the first one, and then there was one that really stuck out that I'd like to also answer. I believe your first question that you wanted yes or no is, do I support annexing Greenland and Canada? The short answer to that is no, I do not. There was another question in there. I think it was, do I support a deal? I'm going to paraphrase a little bit. A deal with Ukraine in obtaining minerals and helping the United States taxpayer recoup the $140 billion or so that we sent over there. The answer is yes, I do support that.
So first off, thank you, older gentleman in the red hat, for defending Canada and our president, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Look, this is what makes me feel good about this clip, is that this is a guy who doesn't appear like he follows this stuff too closely, but he is aware enough to see what Trump is saying and doing and how insane it is to threaten your neighbors, your friends, like Canada, like Greenland. And he's out there standing up for us, and I welcome it. Thank you so much. It's really good to see that. I'm going to get to some data in a bit here showing how Americans overall right now are feeling about Trump's threats to Canada, and also how Canadians are feeling about it, broken down by who they vote for, which is interesting. But just to briefly mention or to respond to that last point on Ukraine there, shouldn't the onus be on the invader? Let's say let's use your argument. You want to recoup the costs. Shouldn't Russia be doing that for you? As they're the invader, they're the ones who started the war in Ukraine. Why should the victim of the war be the ones that you're taking minerals from when it should be the ones who started the war? If we're going to be fair and honest about it. Again, if you want to use that argument. So it's a ridiculous claim to make. But let me get to this data. So this is from Angus Reid Institute. This is a Canadian polling outlet. How do you feel about this idea of Canada joining the United States? So these are just American respondents. 60% say no interest in seeing Canada join the US. 32% say interested, but only if Canadians want to. 6% say U.S. should annex Canada using political and economic pressure, and only 2% say U.S. should annex Canada using military force. I got to say this poll made me feel good, because only 2% of Americans are out of their goddamn minds. Oh, well, to be fair, the 6% aren't good either, but the 2 are really off the deep end. But break this down by who they voted for. And how do you feel about this idea that Canada join the U.S.? So I showed you the overall. The Trump voter, even Trump voters say they have no interest in seeing Canada join the U.S. And same with the next one at 42%. I'd be interested in Canada joining only if they wanted to. Only 12% think it's good to use political and economic pressure, and only 2%, again, say that they should use military force. So even Trump voters are against this idea of annexing Canada. And of course, it's not surprising to see the result here for Harris voters. Now, last poll worth showing here. This is Canadian respondents. Suppose there was a referendum in Canada and Canadians were to vote on whether this country should become part of the United States. Would you vote? So the total, of course, 90% of Canadians say they would vote no. 10% say yes. But look at the breakdown here. The Conservative Party of Canada, there is 21% of those voters that support Canada joining the U.S. Compare that to, 2% for the Liberals, 3% for the NDP, 1% for the Bloc Québécois. This is all within like a margin of error here. 21%. Just keep in mind, the party you support and what some of your fellow voters within that party may be supporting as well. So it is really wild to see that many people within any part of Canada, but within one party supporting it.